Well, welcome back once again. We had a little bit of a chat earlier on with two people at the heart of the race, and we thought it'd be a nice opportunity while everyone is here in Brazil, before we get to the import racing on Friday, before we get to the leg start on Sunday, to get some more people representing all the teams. So we've got Annie from Guyo Environment Team Europe, we've got Alizée from Biotherm, and we've got Mark from 11th Hour Racing Team. Thank you, all three of you, for joining us. Annie, I'm just going to start with you, because I think for everybody that journey to Itajaí and Brazil was difficult, but you guys have had obviously the biggest headline, the biggest change. You didn't get to sail the course, the leg, you didn't manage to get any points here, you had to turn around. But I'm guessing for you on board at that moment where you found the delamination, there's no regrets there. You had no option, right? I mean, it was a serious moment.
Yeah, I mean, I guess luckily I came off watch, and as I was below, sort of saw the floor moving to leeward quite a lot. And unfortunately, I've been on a boat before that's delaminated, so knew the noise. And when I went over there,
Wait, sorry, which boat was that?
Yeah, on SCA on the 65, we were the first 65 kind of out of the shed, and we did a transatlantic run from Newport across to Europe. And then on the way, the bow started to delaminate around the front water tank.
This is before the race?
Before the race, yeah.
Right.
So it was the first 65 to kind of really be tested.
Huh.
And we had this big water tank in the front, and actually there just wasn't really enough structure around it. So it started to delaminate, and I just remember that noise of the sound of the foam.
A noise
creaking.
you never forget.
Yeah. And at that point, we had to drill holes and fill it with resin and try and get the boat across the Atlantic. And yeah, so I heard it anyway. And yelled at Ben to slow down. He said, "Yeah, you sure?" Yeah, and then as soon as he heard it as well, we sort of knew. And unfortunately, it was in the main cabin area, very, very large unsupported panel by the engine as well. And it was moving a lot. And of course, the problem with delam is you don't know how far it's spreading. I mean, we were tapping to feel how big the part is, but it spreads quickly. And there's no choice. And actually, when we craned the boat out, when we got to Cape Town, you could see the cracking in all the outside part. So the thing with the structure of the boat is that, it's strong when you have the carbon, but it's only like a mil of carbon. Then you've got the foam, and then you've got another mil of carbon. So if that starts to crack, I mean, essentially we sailed back with 1 mil of carbon between us and the water. So, there's no way.
How long did it take you from, there's this noise that I recognize here, and right, we're turning around? How quick was it to get to that point where this is not something we're going to be able to do on the water?
I think like all the teams, luckily it's not just up to us at that moment.
Right.
So we quickly phoned our shore crew and our technical manager. We spoke to the architects and designers. It felt like a long time, but it was probably less than an hour before the decision came back that there was no option. Yeah.
Okay, and amazing. And I know that there's an interesting narrative about, you're really rested, you've had all this rest, but actually it was your shore team that did the delivery. So you've been the one, you and your sailing team have been the one in constructing the tent and been working really hard. So it's not been the leg you wanted, but it's still been a challenge, I know. Elise, for you, now, it's sailor for Guyo Environment Team Europe, for you, technical director for the team, and there's an awful lot to do here. I don't want this conversation to be a downer, but we need to talk foils. And we need to talk the work that you've had to do. How much work have you had to do to get Biotherm back to working and being fast?
So the biggest thing, it was after the shock to know how important the shock was, and
this is a collision, right?
Yeah, it was a collision.
Do we know what it was?
No idea. It was during the night. They were filming at this moment, but we don't see anything.
Yeah.
They think it's not so big, because if it was like a very huge container, it will be more broken.
You'd know.
So we are lucky, and what happened is that they told us there were damage on the foil, and they sent us some pictures during the night. So it was very difficult to know what happened exactly on the foil. And the only important thing it was to understand if the stock, the aim, was touched or not, because we can see a lot of layers of the carbon delaminated, but this is easy, let's say easy to fix. So we were just waiting for this. So we imagined all the scenarios, and we found a place here. We managed to call more people to bring all the material from France because it's HM, so high models.
Yeah, but also, I mean, just to give us some sort of context, how long does it take to build a foil from scratch? You know, you're talking like 6 months,
Like
right?
you're asking like how long we took or how long?
Okay. If I wanted a set of foils for an IMOCA, and I said to the builder, here's my design, how long?
Sure. No,
how
this
long?
is really months.
Yeah.
Several months.
And so you had
But we had the stock. We keep the stock like it is.
Right.
And even if we have cracks, we cannot do anything. So we just tried to put resin in it.
Right.
And we just close it. So to close it, it's even a big job, and it takes maybe 2 weeks normally. And then you have maybe 1 week of painting and fairing, and they did it in 10 days.
Yeah.
So that's they're really like the guys were really happy with the job they did.
Yeah.
And they didn't sleep so much.
Yeah.
They did it,
Lots of
and
coffee.
the foil arrived, and it's pretty crazy. You just touch it and you don't feel where they added some material. So
Yeah.
good job.
It's incredible. It's great. So I'm just seeing Annie here, just always on
Sorry.
either sailing duty
Sorry.
or parenting duty.
I'm sorry, I think I'm going to have to get Gaston to take her.
No,
She's not
that's
sitting
absolutely
here.
fine. No, that's no problem. It was lovely for you to join us. I tell you what, guys, one of the things that we always hear so many people talking about is whether the IMOCAs are up to the task. And that's a silly thing to say because they go around the world and they've gone around the world for years. But they're always evolving and the sailors are always finding new ways to do it. I mean, Mark, you've come around twice on the 65s.
Yeah.
That was solid. That was a tank of a boat. What's your view in terms of the apparent weakness of the IMOCA?
In my humble opinion, I don't think it's a weakness. I just think it's an entirely different type of sailing. You know, the 65s, as we all know, were one designs and overbuilt, and we pushed them to the limit and had a few breakages, you know, that we've been in, other teams were part of, but by and large, the fleet was very reliable. These boats are different. They're Grand Prix sensitive, very fragile, you know, pieces of machinery, and they require finesse. And they generally get sailed in a single or double-handed capacity. So inevitably, when you put a full crew on board, you know, I think this last leg, this race, these are all brand new things, and we're learning about how these boats respond when they get pushed harder just by nature of having more people on board.
And do you enjoy that? Because you know, you've done, this is your third ocean race. You've done the other two as a sailor.
Yep.
Now you're in a managerial role. You've got that kind of satellite view. Do you enjoy that? There's, I'm guessing in the previous editions, don't worry about the boat. The boat's all good. But now you've got to factor that in. Is that another few pieces on the chessboard to play around with?
Yeah, definitely, and it's you know, forced us to have a whole new organizational structure.
Yeah.
You know, with the boat yard, and we had I mean, our team was a third of the size that it is in this campaign. In previous campaigns, there's design and, you know, architecture and you know, much more technical elements to what's happening here than there have been in the past, and that makes it exciting. It's a new challenge, and then I think for the fleet holistically, you know, we're learning about how these boats, where the limits are truly of these boats. You probably know more about this than me, but I would say that the Vendée Globe, if you look at polar percentage, they're probably sailing the boats around 80% of their full performance, and here we're pushing the boats at 95 to 100 all the time, but things are breaking, so we're learning about where the real limits are.
Well, that's really, I mean, we've got to touch on this. You had some very big dramatic moments in leg 3. Obviously, you know, Annie mentioning Guyo Environment Team Europe having to retire. You guys never quite get to that point. But what was the point that got you closest to that? What was the moment where you went, okay, this is our biggest peak in our stressful mountain?
Yeah, I mean, there are really two big incidents that summarize our leg from a technical perspective. It was the issues we had with the rudders, and just by nature of where we were on the race course. I think that is actually where we were closest to evaluating whether we needed to suspend racing or pull into New Zealand or Australia. You know, it was all sort of playing out just as we were approaching the scoring gate.
Yeah.
And then you're entering the Pacific and thousands of miles with literally no land for another couple thousand miles.
Yeah.
So we really looked at that and said, are the rudders going to be able to structurally stay intact to at least get to Cape Horn? And then once we...
Hang on, let me ask you a little question about that. Just because you put a thought into my mind. We saw those amazing videos coming off, and for us, you go, oh wow, rudder, difficult decision. but for the sailors, they're weighing up performance. Is this safe?
Yeah.
Can I ask you, were the sailors pushing in one direction? Was the team on shore pushing in another direction? Was there synergy all the way there? Can you give me some indication of what's that like? Because for the sailors, that decision is potentially a bit more real.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Not potentially, it is. I mean, they've got to live it. I mean, it's easy for us to sit back and say, you'll be fine. Just keep going.
Go for it, guys. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so, you know, the input from the sailors is taken incredibly seriously.
Yeah.
I would say that we had differing opinions, but that's healthy. I expect and actually want us to have differing opinions on how to solve it, because then when you bring all that together, you usually end up in a better place. By and large, you know, with that particular one, I think it was obvious that we could continue after we had done the whole analysis loop and done the repairs and spoken with all the right people. And then it just came down to, was that the prudent seaman-like thing to do? And at the end of the day, the decision was it was.
Because for me, I'm not cut out to do this race because the fear would get to me.
Don't sell yourself short.
No. I'm more than happy to never do that. I'm absolutely fine with the decisions that I've made that have put me on this side of the spectator barrier. But, you know, for me, the fear would get to me. Absolutely get to me at that point. You know, I'd be redlining the whole way, and then when somebody said, we might lose all our rudders, that would be it. Do your sailors, you know, or are they so professional they could stay on that point? Because that just sounds superhuman to me.
No. Come on. I mean, I'm, you know, if Jack or Charlie or anyone were sitting here, they'd all tell you that. I mean, they seriously considered it. You know, like how can you not? You're like, a boat without a rudder is just a drifting piece of carbon. You know, I mean, so it's an absolutely essential part of the boat, and you know, there's no other option. So. Yeah, they all considered it, and they had discussions on board as a group. They had, you know, sort of meetings on a regular basis to talk about where we were, and then of course with the outside input from, you know, the rest of the team. It's a very real thing, and the same process happened with the mainsail after we got around Cape Horn. I think just by nature of where we were and the proximity to land, the severity of, you know, pulling in or the alternatives, it's not the same situation.
Sure.
But the bigger impact was, are we able to still be competitive? Are we still competing, or are we just now trying to get the boat to Brazil as quickly as we can? And that was the biggest mentality shift.
Where were you on that?
Well, for a while, you know, the breeze was so strong that, and frankly, we were so limited on what resources we had left because all the other issues had consumed a lot of what we had. So after doing, you know, we basically had one go at it, and it was so windy that we determined we needed to wait for the breeze to die to have that proper go. So for 2 days, we weren't competitive. I mean, we were just sailing along, obviously doing the best we can, but without a mainsail, and you don't win races without a mainsail.
Yeah.
But once the conditions became favorable, we had one go at it, and it was ultimately successful enough to get us here.
Because it was amazing to see that the resources needed to fix that main were any bit of webbing on the boat, you know, like anything, you know, like engine covers and anything that you can attack.
They were taking webbing off the handles of different sail bags, parts of the lee claws from the sleeping, and it was our sailmaker JM, who's incredibly experienced. He's done this race a lot. He was really impressed with what he saw.
And then I think it's worth mentioning at this point that, of course, this is the team that got into the Falkland Islands and went, we need a new mast, let's get that lamppost.
It's actually just down the street here.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Is it just down the street? Well,
we in our sustainability ethos, we found a new purpose for it, and it's now the flagpole at a local nonprofit just down the street called Annie. They're one of our grantees, and we just visited with them and their whole group. They do an incredible work for getting young people out on the water and community service and stuff. There's a whole sign about pulling into the Falklands and everything. So.
You will have to, you'll have to point it out to me. I'll go take a look. I want to, just because I've got both of you guys here, and you know, 11th Hour Racing Team, with your boat developed for the race and the rest of it. You know, you've gone through that whole design process. You know, Alizée, I know you know, with your look at the data coming off the boat, you know, your involvement in the IMOCA class. I want to look a little bit at the future, and I want to kind of dream a little bit big. There's all this talk of foils. Everybody watching it sees the boats take off, wobble, crash, and you're thinking, no, sure, I mean, like, we need foils on the back, we need this, we need that. What do you where's your biggest restrictions with the class rules and what the IMOCAs don't allow you yet to do? Where's your that's the area I want to get kind of freed up in?
I think everybody wants maybe at some point to try about the, I don't know, plan porteur.
T4 rudder on the back, yeah,
Yeah, on the back on the rudders.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting for sure. And Biotherm already tried it, just to try it, like without
knowing
any
it was
race.
illegal.
Yeah, just he did it to try, and it's very interesting. And we are sure everybody want to try it. But the question sure is to see what happened in the South Seas. Obviously, but I think it shows that we are 5 boats here, and we did the most difficult leg, so that means it works. We have like the rudder, the mainsail, the foil, but the foil it's an UFO, and UFO you can you there is something
know.
you never know. It's like that. Even if it's like a normal boat, it can happen. So at the end the boats are quite good. They could repair in Cape Town for Guyo. So at the end, I guess yes, it's not the same than Volvo, that's sure. And I never worked on Volvo, but I hear all the guys from the shore crew that are saying, "Oh, Volvo was easier." Sure, but the challenge is good, and we do it, and we have maybe more people. I don't realize if the technical team is bigger than with the Volvo boats, maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, we want to see what we do and what we can do, and we can do more things. Absolutely.
With the IMOCA class, which way is the wind blowing? Is there mounting?
You need to get Antoine over here.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I know that the representative of the class, they come down, they know what's going on, but I'm just wondering whether is it moving in the direction of bigger foils, bigger speeds, bigger thing, or is there just no, we've got that.
It depends on what. Really, it depends on what. There is safety, security that is very important, and they are very on it, and it's important because we have teams. All the teams have one people talking in the technical committee, and so all of us have someone that is there and can give his opinion, talk about things. So it's interesting because it's a group that is doing something. The class is not like someone deciding. It's like just we do it all together. So there is safety first, then absolutely some people want bigger foil, but at some point we have to stop. It's like you cannot say like let's go, and also
safety, cost.
Because
and parking the boats.
Sure.
I mean, parking the boats with those enormous foils.
Also.
It's a big thing.
And about cost, it's like if we do like crazy things, we will have less sponsors, so less boats. So at some point, it's important. I think it's beautiful to have 40 boats on the Vendée, and I'm sure we will have more here after this, because they saw that we are broking, but we are happy to broke and to see what breaks on the boats.
Yeah.
So all the boats back in Lorient are checking each picture, each video, saying like, oh, it broke, oh, it's interesting. So I think we have to sail, and we have to do more miles and to improve the boats.
Right. You talked about analysing pictures. You talked about the other IMOCAs looking at things and all the rest of it. Double foiling.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Can we talk about that? Because this was something that, correct me if I'm wrong, people weren't doing. People are now doing at this point in the race. Is this something that we can talk about, or is this something that people are still sort of playing with to try and get the edge?
I think the drones tell it. I mean, you see it on the drones videos. We don't have exactly the same foils of the others.
Yeah.
Our one are less, like higher. It doesn't go so depth.
But am I right in thinking that this is a little area where people are?
Yeah, sure. And we are improving.
Both foils out.
Yeah. All the boats were like that, I guess. I mean, I saw some drones videos, and it's really interesting. And I'm sure that people back in Europe will do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they learned it from this leg.
Yeah.
That's sure. That's very interesting.
I mean, Max, it's interesting, there's a little sense, there's a little atmosphere of slight caginess here. But am I right in saying that is one area where skills have sort of shifted, and we've gone, hang on, there might be some performance here. Both foils down, VMG running, or lift. I mean, am I pulling on the right thread here?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that we actually spent a fair bit of time looking at before the race.
Right.
And yeah, it seems the whole fleet is onto it now. So it's not a secret. And you also correctly pointed out that everybody's got different hull shapes and also different foil shapes.
Yeah.
And so it's more or less relevant depending on how how that combination comes together.
Yeah, and I imagine that does create a nice atmosphere where people are prepared to talk. I remember with the VO65s, you know, one small tiny
Any little advantage, you had to keep that to yourself.
Oh, you kept that to yourself. Yeah, you know, I don't want to bring up memories of, you know, Charles Cordrella getting very annoyed about, you know, swinging keels and all this bit. But yeah, absolutely, it was about those tiny little advantages. So, you know, with all the things that IMOCA might do with the class, what we're going to do with the double foiling and different techniques that we come, let's just say, you know, final thing, with the equipment that we have, both teams want to do better. Right, you know, but absolutely. Yeah. What are you doing? I mean, Mark, let me come to you. Is it a case of no, we're sticking to exactly what we're doing because we haven't yet had our best run of luck. The sailors haven't been able to do what they want to do, or we got to find something new. Where are you guys at this stage of the race?
At this stage of the race, yeah. So look, we're basically halfway. And we set out with really ambitious targets and goals, and frankly, we're not achieving them, at least on the scoreboard. And so we've taken a really deep look at everything we're doing, and that's on board, process, personnel, technical stuff, and even all the way through communication, sustainability, logistics.
Yeah.
There's a strong emphasis in our team to improve in all areas, and what we're trying to do is do less better. So we're really trying to keep it simple, focus on what matters, and break things down process-wise. You know, the next stopover is our hometown stop in Newport. It's the home of 11th Hour Racing. You know, we want to win that leg. And we're a little bit less worried about what happens with the rest of the race. Let's just try to focus on winning this leg and break it down into goals within that. You know, there's a lot of miles between here and Newport. So what things do we need to do to achieve that result? And then we can get there and come up with new goals based on what that situation looks like.
And what's that like running that? Because I remember when you guys were in Alvi Medica, I remember you really would push this whole thing about that there's no egos, every opinion is valid. Is that still very much that kind of a central pillar of how you kind of running this team at the moment? I
mean, you know, we're a team of 35 people, so you can't have 35 voices in every situation, every decision. It's not decision by democracy, but our general ethos is that you know, the more ideas, the better. But at a certain point, decisions need to be made.
Sure.
And
Someone
so
needs
we need to bring process to that. And so there's a fine balance there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what about Biotherm? What are you guys doing next to get better?
So our project is a bit different because the boat is really new. It's like brand new. Yeah. We did the Durham and the tour. To know the boat. So Paul has to discover his boat. Now we can say he knows his boat very well, much better than boats that didn't sail so much, because it's only 6-7 months, the boat. And after 7 months, if you let it in Europe, it will really not be the same, and the team will not know the boat as well as us, I guess. And so we are discovering the boat. Now we know the problems, the things we want to fix. We already have a job list for July to improve.
Wow.
For sure.
Okay,
so we have to take the boats out in France.
Things
and
you can't do here in Brazil. And
we can. Maybe Newport, we never know. So yeah, we try to improve. So the team, the shore team, the crew. So the aim is to improve Paul because it's for him, for the Vendée Globe.
Sure.
So this, and then the boat. And the boat is very interesting, as we said, to break, to know the defects and see where we can work. So now we are here, and we think Paul knows very well his boat. We think we know our boat.
Yeah.
And we fixed a lot of things that we were waiting to fix, and we wanted to fix it since maybe Alicante. So it's good to have it, and we think the boat is ready.
But you talk about knowing the boat.
Yeah.
You got a new crew.
Sure.
I mean, you got Paul, but you got a new.
Mariana.
Oh, okay. Mariana,
Yeah.
you've done some stuff before. That's fair. Alan Roberts, you know, like all really good sailors joining in, but
sure.
Yeah, how does that feel?
It's different, but it's like now they are sailing with Paul, with Mariana, and also with Rudy, our rigger, with the boat captain. So they are like teaching them, and they are good. They know how to sail. Alan is in habit with to change a lot of IMOCAs, class 40. So he knows how to try to put he will be in the leg in one day, no problem. We are sure of this. Marie just arrived and she's in habit with changing a lot. So I guess there will be no problem, and even with Sam and Damien, when they arrived, Anton knew the boat, so it was easy.
Sure,
really,
okay.
they said it was really easy. Paul is managing, and they just do it.
Yeah.
And it works.
And are you a little bit happy that the forecast for the leg departure on Sunday is for light winds, and we're not going to get what we had in Cape Town,
Oh my God.
which was just crazy?
But we are really happy because the boat is very, very light.
Right.
We have 1 ton different with the more heavy.
Team
so-
Militia? Like 1 ton?
Yeah,
with
I
it?
guess. Yeah. So it's very different, and that's the difference with Volvo also, is that we have really different boats, and that's interesting because we think this leg can be good for us.
Right.
South
okay.
was difficult, but we passed it, so we are happy with this.
Is that a similar thing for you, Mike? Do you have a leg where you're kind of going, our boat, has it tried to be a sort of jack of all trades, or is there, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, when we actually designed our boat, it was when the course was still going all the
Yeah,
way back
well,
up to China, and so, you know, we were looking at a more well-rounded boat, better suited for upwind, tight reaching conditions. And yeah, you look at Team Militia, I mean, their hull shape, their foils, the whole thing is I mean, it's no surprise that they had success in the Southern Ocean. That was the...
If they were going to do well.
That was the design brief, right? So, I mean,
Yeah,
exactly. We actually have the same designer, so there's probably closer philosophies between the boats.
Right.
There's obviously still big differences, but yeah, we're happy to be back in the Atlantic Ocean, headed to our hometown, and you know, conditions that the boat seems to be quite competitive in. So we're optimistic about the upcoming leg.
Well, pretty good. And I know that, yeah, like you say, the race is far from over. We've still got more than half the points to be awarded. We've still got all of that. And it'll be very interesting. New teams coming in for you. New teams coming in for Team Holcim PRB as well.
Yeah, lots of crew changes.
Lots of crew changes. So it's going to be a very interesting that first week out of this leg, and we can kind of see. Thank you both very much. Thank you, Annie, as well. Annie had to sort of jump off to parenting duty. Unfortunately, racing parenting. Priorities never stops at all. But thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed a little bit of information for the people that know what's going on at the heart of the race. We have got that import race on Friday, and then of course leg 4 gets underway here in Itajaí, Brazil, all the way up to Newport. That is on Sunday in the afternoon. And it's going to be quite interesting to see which teams have found that reset button, and whether Team Holcim PRB are still going to be the boat to beat, or someone's going to have the edge. You'll have to join us for the racing to find out. Thanks.